throwing the light on especially electronic manufacturing sector. I'm sure people, those who are listening, take this note to the relevant agency that these inputs can be amended in the policy making. Right, Tanmay.
Sure. So, really, my thoughts on this are that there are a few fields that will mostly get impacted by this sort of post COVID world or what's going to happen in the future. But I would start off with a general trend. And I believe that the general trend is going to be that we're going to start to see a lot more automation in nearly every industry. And what that means is people will start to be, and this is sort of alluding to what I said a little while ago, people will start to be a little less hesitant to start applying next generation technologies because they start to see that, hey, when we are very reliant on humans and when we rely on social interaction for businesses to function and for the economy to function. Yes. Sorry? Can you not hear me properly? Technologies because of the fact that I believe we will start to see that when we don't apply automation, when we actually have humans working in real industries, and when the economy is reliant on human to human interaction as it was in just a couple weeks ago, that's very disadvantageous in times like this when we fundamentally cannot have people that are interacting with each other. So we're going to start to see less hesitance there. We're going to start to see people adapting to change a lot more quickly. And in terms of the impact that this has on education in specific, I want to focus on that because that's a field that I'm very personally passionate about. Is that I believe we're going to start to see more and more people focusing on getting the underlying reasoning behind certain concepts and topics across, not necessarily the concepts or topics themselves. I mean, it's been something that I've heard a lot from people, like even actual students. There'll be like a high school student. They'll say, when are we going to use this linear algebra or calculus in our lives? Why is it important for us to learn? And what a lot of people don't realize is that when they learn something like this, they're not necessarily just learning the concept. They're learning what process did another human go through to come up with this new concept. And so we're going to start to really take that problem solving framework that I was talking about and start to embody that within our education instead of the actual concepts, and sort of use that to get those concepts across. That's one thing. And what that's going to enable us to do is enable us to work in a wide variety of fields without needing to specialize in any single one of them, because people will be able to adapt more quickly. And the reason this is important is, even if you just take a look a couple of years ago, a couple of decades ago, as we started to industrialize agriculture more and more, what that enabled us to do was move people outside of these farms and rural areas where they were forced to do agriculture because people have to live, they've got to eat. Now they can actually all move to bigger cities and they can work on things that aren't just about generating food. And because of that, we could innovate. And that means we could create even better industrial agriculture, new fields, new industries. So as we see more industries starting to automate, that's going to be more people starting to innovate. But all of that innovation needs educational infrastructure to make sure we're generating people that can innovate. So I think it's going to be a cycle of things all happening together. And this sort of COVID-19 scenario is really just accelerating this future that would have already come regardless. But this, because of the COVID situation, we're starting to realize the importance of having a world like this, and we're going to start working towards it in a lot more of a direct way than we were before.
Thank you, Tanmay. Over to Sushmita. Sushmita, can you hear me?
Opportunity. Yeah. Am I audible to everybody?
Yeah, please.
Yes. So I would like to thank the whole VGO family for inviting me. I'm the alumni of VIT. This is a great opportunity for me, and this education sector I'm into. So, yes, as rightly said by Dr. Sandeep and Tanmay, I would like to welcome them also on the panel with me. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. Now, I would like to also put my points on this education 4.0 and this pandemic that we are facing. So, this pandemic has forced institutions to foray into virtual space. So, my point is, like, the technology has been driving in all areas of the society, and the access to information is more networked as of now, and the brick and mortar that used to be in the previous times, they are basically replaced by some of the really great online platforms. Okay, and basically if I want to talk about some of the really great opportunities in future and about the machine learning and data science. Okay, so these are some of the I can say using learning, data science. Okay, and one of the really good uh, opportunities will be in future, like we need to eradicate whatever like uh, we are exploiting. Okay, we are basically inviting the other countries to move in India, and whatever we are getting from outside India, that will be now made in India. So that is my point, and that is what I would like to extend, that whatever we have been getting from outside India, that should be made in India, whatever it will be, like to manufacturing or online classes or to some of the really good things in India. So this is my point. And talking about the more opportunities in future, yes, definitely this pandemic we have realized our importance. Like we were more into like working, everything has been changed, but at this point of time, like we got some of the time for ourselves. So this is a digital era. Okay, and people have been involving into the online platforms, they have been learning digital things, okay, to have the certification from themselves. And if I talk about the future scope, so there are like 8.4 million jobs from 2018 to 2028, and it is projected to grow from 161 million to 169.4 million in the coming era. So, like all those things, along with online platforms that we are using, basically these are based on the mind things. And like if I more talk about the artificial intelligence, it is like more into the patterns. Okay, the patterns and the things that we can talk about is intelligence. Okay, so intelligence basically is defining what we are thinking, our thought process, and pattern recognition, some speech recognition, symbolic learning, some image processing that we will be learning onto now. Some robotics and deep learning are a part of this program, like basically what we are into in this era, and some natural language processing will be there. So yes, we all are like fighting with this pandemic as in this era. So like my point of this education 4.0 is that everything that we have been like exploring and out of India, I would like to say that we must be so assured that everything and resources, along with all the resources, we must all the things in India only. So that is my point. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sushmita, for sharing this eye-opening data. Um, from this question number two, the responses we have received from our three all eminent panelists, I would like to say that people, those who keep an eye on the opportunities, and those who will take decisions early, they will get the maximum benefit from this whole crisis and the process of redesigning. Now, proceeding with the core issue, core topic of today, the core question, education 4.0. Professor Sancheti, I would like to request you to address this particular question, education 4.0 and earlier models, I mean 3.0, 2.0, and 1. Professor Sancheti.
Fine, Panitji. Sure, I'd like to throw some light on that. I think, as far as I'm concerned, I came to know about this terminology some 3, 4 years back, which was at a FICCI conference, annual conclave of theirs. I came to know about it, and it arose my curiosity about this. That are we following like mobile 4G, 5G, or are we following Industry 4.0? But I found that yes, there was a method in defining it, and therefore, I'd like to say something about the education 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 also. I think you are all aware of it. Only it's just a way to explain and understand it. And these versions are generally given when there is something significant as a change comes in the policy, or maybe in terms of delivery, or maybe happening or outcomes, whatever it may be. These names and numbers are given. We know about mobile very well. Entire world knows what is 4G now and what is 5G, and what was 2.5G also. Fortunately, in education, we don't have any half here. So for education, for us, education 1.0 was nothing but Gurukul-like things. which were not very highly scalable, which were very single person centric or few people centric, which was meant for people who could have afforded and who had some influence and all that. Everyone could not go. We know that Eklavya was someone who was very, very talented and wanted, but he could not go to that. So those are the examples of education 1.0. Though there were classrooms, you can say Gurukul was like a classroom, but still it was a very limited and little in terms of the impact which was there. Education 2.0 owes its existence to printing. For sure, books started coming, education started going to every nook and corner, every part of the world. It moved from continents and countries and locations to other places, and printing press played a big role. And you know that we studied, I think book was the first thing we looked forward to get if we have to start our studies, and therefore the dependence on the book was the printed material, the standard learning material was required. So 2.0 owes its existence to books and its availability and cheap availability, etc. 3.0 obviously is technology, whether it is the computers or internet or mechanization and labs and various other things, hands-on learning, skilling, all that is probably can be encompassed in 3.0, whatever you can understand. So 3.0 is still continuing and is still our main base. Yes, these definitions are little loose. People may differ. They may include some item, they may exclude some item, does not matter. But this is a broad description of 3.0. So what is 4.0? I'm sure many of you must be guessing and eagerly waiting to know. This is not necessarily that in addition to books and technology, something new has come to define it. No, nothing has come from outer space to define education 4.0. Education 4.0 is basically student centricity. I think Omkarji was trying that in the beginning. Till now, we are teaching the students what we want to teach as teachers or we want to teach as institutions. We do that. The students have hardly any choice. They can only choose between the courses and rest is controlled by us. Education 4.0 would be something which will be highly, highly student centric. They will make a potpourri of what they want to study, why they want to study, how they want to study, when they want to study. So if I can define it in one word, I will say education 4.0 would be something what we call student centricity. And if organizers can permit me to put some three slides quickly, that what is the reason why we are moving to education 4.0 is not necessarily technology. Technology is already available. So I'll try to put some slides. Can the administrators for this event give me the permission to upload my slide? Is it possible? Uh, can I request someone to Dipanshuji? Can I be given permission to upload the slides?
Navinji, please look into the matter.
If it is possible, otherwise I'll try to say something as a statement only. If it is,
I'm giving you a permission.
yeah, if it is possible, please allow me. Okay. Okay, if not, I'll start my small explanation. Number one, why we need 4.0. I think we know that lots of concepts in our life have changed significantly. One of the concept which was yeah, I'll take it now. I'll take it now. Don't worry. It should come now. Okay. So why education 4.0? I'm taking two lines mentioned on the top, yellow lines, which are a 180-degree shift in change in our life. Number one, I'm going to give from one sports domain. पढ़ोगे, लिखोगे, बनोगे नवाब, खेलोगे, कूदोगे, बनोगे खराब. I think the concept has changed. You probably know that the sports person are doing very well. Education is not necessary to be successful everywhere. The second one is once again, once a mother gives a birth to a child, then she's called mother, basically, or child, whatever way it is. But when a child comes out, then only a lady is called as a mother. So this concept is again about the life, the child giving birth to a mother and not mother giving birth to a child. You can understand that. There is a mural about this in Bombay, which I loved it, liked it, and it makes you think about life. So the same thing can be extended for education 4.0. When it comes to education, we should not cover the syllabus, we should uncover it. I hope you understand what I mean by uncover. I think Tanmay was talking about it. Talk about the potential of the subject, how it can be applied, where it can be used. That is uncovering. Teachers around the subject or vice versa. Right now, we fix all the subjects and look for teachers and force them to teach those subjects. No, it should be other way around. If Sandeep Sancheti is good in teaching one subject, that course should be floated. And therefore, that concept has to change 180 degree. Should we teach only in classrooms with attendance and all of that, which we keep raving about? I think the classes should be now outside the classroom. So I think these are the conceptual changes. Education 4.0 will embrace all of them and make it student centric. What will be the disruptions? I'm not going to explain in view of the time shortage. Specializations will have to become fuzzy. Knowledge will become less proprietary. Only by sharing it will grow, and then people can work in different applications. Teachers themselves will have to be becoming learners while in the class along with the students. There would not be any formal bar on the education. You will go up to 60, 65 very easily. Degrees will become of lesser values, not that they will vanish, but they'll be of lesser value because skilling is what is an important thing. And I know that Tanmay is already showcasing that his skills, his abilities are taking him everywhere in the world and is doing wonderfully well. And similarly, the boundaries of higher education institutions will get punctured. That if I don't like an X institution, I'll go to Y, and don't like Y, I'll go to Z. And that is what Education 4.0 will provide as a disruption. The last slide for this particular point is a student in Education 4.0 should be able to pick teachers and timings when he wants to study and by whom, which teacher he likes most, whether it is Punitji or Tanmay or anyone, he will choose. Design your own syllabus. What I want to study within the syllabus. It's like a pizza kind of a thing. Which topping, which base, which cheese, what temperature, crisp, this, that, all that you can do. Design my degree. I can choose what degree I want. I don't necessarily want science or technology or engineering or arts, whatever. I can make a hybrid of that. I'll take open book examinations that again will be possible in the Education 4.0. And that is a real world, by the way. Every time the world gives you a test, which is not a book, it's a real world test. And finally, the examinations on demand. So when I'm ready, it's something like when I'm ready to eat, I'll eat. When I'm ready to write an examination, I'll write. These are the features which are going to be forcing us. Currently, most of them are not there. And therefore, that is what will bring Education 4.0 to the fore. I'll share more thoughts later, maybe. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sancheti. I mean, this is like learning, unlearning, and relearning. I mean, you have redefined the whole process. I mean, the point of view of re-engineering. I mean, keeping the student first and designing the whole world according to keeping the student in the center. Right.
Very true, Puneet. You summed it up very nicely. Yeah.
Thank you, and especially some the quotes you mentioned in the beginning. As at the beginning, I said that you are a man who simplifies things. So the first slide, carrying all the quotations, which was making everything clear that things will start changing once we are clear here. So thank you, Professor Sancheti. Over to Tanmay. You being such a young person, you have traveled extensively, worldwide. You have been addressing many people through TEDx and your YouTube blog channel, and you've been, serving your ideas to IT giants. So, what is Industrial Revolution 4.0? Tanmay.
Sure. Thank you very much. And really, what I believe the fourth industrial revolution is, or Industrial Revolution 4.0, these different keywords, they all refer to the same basic thing. In the past couple of years, we've seen an explosion of two things, and the fourth industrial revolution helps us manage them both properly. And those are data and compute power. So if you think about it, we have a lot of data nowadays, and that data needs to be gathered, it needs to be secure, it needs to be managed properly, and then it also needs to be understood. But on the other hand, we've also got compute power, and compute power itself needs to be distributed, managed, and secure in its own ways. And the fourth industrial revolution enables us to take both of these and really bring all of these capabilities that we have to the next level. For example, when it comes to data and it comes to understanding data, a perfect example, again, a technology that I'm very passionate about would be artificial intelligence, machine learning. Being able to take all sorts of kinds of data, structured or unstructured, and being able to find hidden insight from within it that we never could have found because that data is simply so vast. So that's one end of it. In terms of security of data, of course, all sorts of technologies can help out there. One of the most popular would be blockchain. There's some kinds of data, and although I would say very specific niches, there are some very specific niches that can greatly benefit from the implementation of blockchain technology. When it comes to gathering data, we've got technology like the Internet of Things that's enabling us to gather data at the edge at a scale never before possible so that it can be understood by artificial intelligence and on the way it can be secured by, say, as an example, technologies like blockchain. So there's all sorts of new technology coming around to help us make sense of and to manage the vast amount of data that we're generating and making sure that no data is just sitting in an archive drawer doing nothing. I mean, if you think about it, unstructured data is huge. 80% of all business relevant data is unstructured. But up until a couple of years ago, without machine learning, we never could have understood it, with the power of computers at least. And so it was basically just sitting in a database doing nothing. But now, with the power of machine learning, we can start to tap into that and enable humans to make better decisions with unstructured data. Now, flipping over to the other side, as I mentioned, there's also compute power, and cloud computing is a perfect example of a technology that's enabling us to leverage compute power in a better way. Now you don't need to have these, custom sets of infrastructure that you're putting together for your own business or for a specific team and replicate work. Really, a lot of the innovation that we're seeing as part of the fourth industrial revolution is just because we are stopping ourselves from reinventing the wheel over and over again, and we're just letting a couple of people do it really, really well. Open source technology is another good example of this. So there are all sorts of new technologies that are a part of the fourth industrial revolution. There are some that I didn't even cover, like biotechnology, like 3D printing, and so much more. But I feel like the keys of the fourth industrial revolution are that it enables us to create and manage and then secure and then understand all kinds of data better, and then it allows us to apply computing power in a very efficient manner on that data so that we can extract insight, extract reason, and then from that make better decisions ourselves. So the fourth industrial revolution is all about giving technology capabilities that it didn't have before so that we can really scale up our decision making capabilities.
Thank you, Tanmay. Now, connecting these two both questions, Education 4.0 and Industrial Revolution 4.0, I would like to know from Sushmita and Tanmay, from both of you. I mean, as earlier said, Professor Sancheti quoted that keeping student in the center, learner is the person who's in center and designing whole things accordingly. So, how a person can benefit of industrial revolution 4.0, I mean the evolving industries, what should be the approach of learning, in what way a student can prepare himself or herself? Sushmita, first to you, then to Tanmay.
Yes, sure. So I would like to put some light on this question, as you've told me, what would be the approach? So, according to me, I think that the approach will be completely in the form of like five eyes of learning and education that I've prepared. So, like for this, first of all, imbibing is important. Internalizing some basic concepts that what actually you want to learn. Okay, then obviously the second point will come to iterating, that is practicing, okay, fundamental skills that are rigorous. Fine. So, like iterating will depends on how you have understood the program or something that you are about to learn. So that is iterating and practicing things. Generating some lots of ideas, as this particular time we can see that small kids are also using phones, right? So you don't know how much like technology is into them. Like I remember when I was a kid, I didn't have a multi like smartphone, but now kids are using. Okay, so I can see that the interpreting, taking facts from study and applying them to different situation with adaptive alternation and the interest. Obviously, if you are doing something like these are amazing programs like into data science, or there are multiple technologies that we can use, as rightly said by Tanmay also, that we are using blockchain, okay, for more secured, because in blockchain obviously there is a transfer in form of packets. If you are transferring anything, there is a form of packets, it is transferred. And basically if you have like you have entered your information in one point, it has been transferred from one place to another, but in a secured manner. Okay, so definitely there are multiple things you can put up your interest to. And this education 4.0 is more about the artificial intelligence and your thoughts. Whatever thoughts you have, you can put into light, like I can say that whatever things you have in your mind, you can definitely make it true. Like people are making projects, like onto some institutions in VIT also. We have made a project. I was about to pass out in fourth year, and I have made a project on Segway. So I used to thought like yeah, I had a thought in my mind. So that's why I used like I have implemented that, and it has also used like CAD, AutoCAD, which was not a part of electronics. I'm from electronics, but then also I've worked on it because I had the interest. So it's about your interest. Whatever you have to do, you can learn each and everything. In this particular era, there are many things available online, right? There are many free things available that were not before. Okay, at the point of time, if I talk about some years previously, they were not available, but as of now there is access to multiple things. You can do whatever you like. So it is about innovation, thinking differently, and cope up with original concepts, and build some innovative ideas and products and services. So that is my idea of education 4.0. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I mean, Sushmita, you are giving me complex that being so young, you are so so much of information, and I need to borrow this. My intelligence is going down. I need to borrow some artificial intelligence to
No,
improve.
no, 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 no.
Just to make it light, the whole conversation. I mean, over to please.
Thank you very much. And in terms of the way that this new industrial revolution is going to have an impact on the way that we learn, and on education 4.0, as we said, I believe that there is a key to this, and I think Sushmita sort of alluded to this, and I want to sort of expand on it, and that is that learning has to happen more organically. And so what that means is, and I actually want to give you a few examples because I feel like the best way to learn is through examples. So, for example, a little while ago, I was working on a project. Actually, before I even get to that, let's go back to when I was 11. Back when I was 11, it was the first time I had ever stumbled upon IBM Watson, which was my first sort of entrance into the world of next generation technologies like AI and machine learning. And when I stumbled upon Watson technology, there was a specific service that really fascinated me, and it was called the Watson Personality Insights service. And Personality Insights, the reason it was so interesting is because anybody could just write some text, maybe feed in their Twitter handle, and based off of your text, it will be able to predict personality traits of yours. And it can even then extrapolate those personality traits and do things like and predict things like how likely are you to be economically or environmentally conscious when you make a when you make a purchasing decision. How likely are you to choose between, say, Android or iOS? How likely are you to watch a documentary over a movie? It can predict these things based off of your text. And it doesn't use the content of your text, it uses the grammatical structures of your text to predict these traits. Now, what interests me, what of course that fascinated me, but the point that I'm trying to get across is that you would think that Personality Insights would teach me about Watson and maybe teach me about machine learning, but it ended up teaching me about a lot more because that piqued my curiosity. That led me not only into the world of machine learning, but into the world of language and psychology, which led me into the world of how humans evolved to have language and so much more that I never would have gotten to if it weren't for that one service, right? So so really learning has to happen more organically and it has to happen in a more example and exploration based approach. So again, another I think good example would be a little while ago at IBM, I had to work on a brand new project using something called LLVM, and LLVM is something called compiler infrastructure. So it's essentially something that we use as programmers. And LLVM is quite complex. I had never used it before. But what enabled me to get into it wasn't the classic way of learning, which is, maybe pick up a book or find a course or find a couple of YouTube videos and learn it through that, but rather trying to find my problem, find open source implementations, copy those implementations, and try and implement them myself. Figure out what roadblocks I hit, and then from there, try and expand my knowledge, link by link, node by node, until eventually I can then start to use other resources to help expand that even faster. So, and by doing so, I was able to work on this project and a bunch of other LLVM based things as well. So, essentially, what I'm trying to say is we need to teach in a way that enables us to be more organic so students themselves can explore, and it needs to be more example based, less of here's the problem and the solution, more of here's the idea, here's the concept, here's the problem, now come up with solutions. Enable them to find that problem solving framework, enable that to be as generic as possible. Something that you learn in math or science can be applied in language. That's what I'm trying to get at, that more generic thinking, not just applying individual hard-coded solutions to problems. In the world of computing, we would call that computational thinking. So instead of just learning the syntax of Python or the syntax of Java, you're a Java programmer, you've got to learn the computational thinking, and then you are a true programmer. So really, even if we were to generalize from computing to just education, learning problem solving and thinking is really the key. And I feel like that's going to be even more important thanks to the fourth industrial revolution, because as I mentioned, we're going to have less of a diverse set of jobs in terms of you've got these jobs that are mentally intensive, and then just the fact that you're a human, we need you here. We're going to have more jobs, in fact, almost only jobs that are requiring human intellect and reasoning. So that generic problem solving framework, I know it seems like I'm saying that a lot, but that truly is, I believe, one of the most important things that we can possibly focus on in today's education system, enabling people to be ready for a future that really doesn't even exist yet.
Thank you, Tanmay. You're very quite simple. People would like to employ you when you are a solution provider. So your thinking approach should be for solution, and well quoted by Tanmay that learning through example and exploration, and that's how our brain is trained. We learn through stories, examples right from A for apple rather than ABCD directly. So that approach should be continued in higher education, learning through examples and exploration. So now, again, coming to back to you, Tanmay, the transitions and driving forces for globalization.
Sure.
Continuation to your earlier discussion.
Sure. So what you mentioned there is actually really interesting, and what I'm going to do really quickly is actually pull up something on my phone, and this is actually a really interesting statistic, and this is something that I have like slides for, and this is something that I've talked about in the past because I feel like it's very, very interesting. And the reason it's so interesting to me, it's called the gross world product, so the total economic output of the entire world for the past few hundreds of thousands of years. So all the way back, if you go on Wikipedia, you can actually see this from 300,000 BC to now 2014 AD. We've got a metric of the total economic output of the entire world, at least estimations for so long ago. And if you actually graph it out, a very interesting trend emerges. You see for hundreds of thousands of years, it's essentially flat. And in the past around 100 years, there's just exponential growth. It's just a straight line up after that. Now, if you really zoom in on the other sort of flat end, you can see there is growth. But because that short tail, that past 100 years, is such explosive growth, those past few hundreds of thousands of years look flat on a graph. And so, if you take a look, one of the driving innovations that enabled that explosive growth was the internet. Now, why is that? It's because it enabled every single human across the globe to, for the very first time ever, communicate and transfer knowledge instantly. So, what that means is no human has to physically go from point A to point B, from India to the US or from China to Australia to deliver some piece of information or some human knowledge. That knowledge can be transferred at the speed of electricity through undersea internet cables, through satellites, through so many things that now enable us to communicate instantly. Now, the reason this is so important is because, again, we can find a lot of these answers just by going back to the selective pressures that enabled us to evolve. Now, if you take a look, there are certain tasks that require short term memory that chimpanzees are great at, but humans aren't great at. And that's because of the cognitive trade off hypothesis, which says that we as humans had to give up things like short term memory in order to make space in the brain for language. And intelligence is expensive, so there must have been some kind of selective pressure that was saying humans need to have language in order to continue to survive and thrive in the environment in which we evolved. And what that proves is we as humans have this kind of unique ability of being able to transfer knowledge between individuals that no other animal has, that no other animal can really have. I mean, we can take an abstract concept, we can take our imagination and encode that into a series of tokens that can be transferred to another individual, and then they can decode those tokens into that very similar mental state. We can take a concept that we've never really experienced before in the environment and still get that point across from another human. That's amazing. Other animals, sure, if they've seen something, if they've done something, if they can interact with something, they can get the point across. But we're the only animals that can do that for something abstract. And now, if you sort of put that concept on steroids, when you actually take this sort of person to person communication and you make it international and instant, that makes it so that not only innovation happens within individual isolated communities, but now innovation is happening across the globe. So at this point, humans really have to stop thinking of the world as a zero-sum game. We have to stop thinking that, hey, if we invest in this specific country or in this specific area, then it's going to benefit that area or that specific geographical region only. We have to think, if we help out some random other country or we enable them to do something, that enables them to innovate, which is going to help us in the future as well. We have to start thinking of the world not as a single pie where everyone needs to take a slice, but thanks to the sort of next generation innovations, rather it's an infinite pie and we can create more of the pie for us to have. So really, I think that's one of the driving factors behind globalization, is that we've realized that humans are special because of the fact that we can communicate, because of the fact that we innovate together. And the more we try to sort of globalize, the faster we can innovate and the better human life is going to be.
Thank you, Tanmay. So now, proceeding the conversation to Professor Sancheti, out of these whole driving forces of globalization, how Education 4.0 or 4.0 will use these emerging technologies? What are the areas that will be incorporated in education?
Okay, thank you, Punitji. I'll share some thoughts on that. Not necessarily at micro and macro level, but at a top level only I'll share, because I believe people like Tanmay and Sushmita, the next gen people, the young prodigies, are more competent to answer this question than me when it comes to technology. Okay, I know artificial intelligence only as a word, probably those people would be knowing it very well. So to answer that, I'll request one organizers to allow me to put one slide to explain my point of view. So if they can give me permission, that would be nice. And I'd like to put that. Yes, it's coming up. I'll take one slide, just one. And yeah, this is the slide. I'd like to say some novel technological approaches. As I said, this is at the top level only. So it's for sure that we know these terminologies, the virtual or smart classrooms. You'll be surprised to know that yesterday evening, from a second year student of mine from SRM, I got a news that he has started his own startup where thousands of students have already enrolled. He's a second year student. To my surprise, this morning, I get one more from a student from another institution claiming to be doing something of similar nature. I think so. Classroom or the teaching at the top level, you can say, is becoming very, very different. Every single thing in your work life or learning life will be a classroom approach, whether you're sitting in cafeteria or a coffee shop, or you're doing something in a lab where you are innovating or doing hackathons. Everything would be a classroom. So I think this will be a new way to define the classrooms. Similarly, virtual and online laboratories are going to come. This is something a dire need. It has not happened till now. India has started with some operations on this with the government support under NMICT, but for supporting science and technology, which is heavily dependent upon the skills and the hands-on experience, online laboratories will be very important. So that will be another approach we'll follow technologically. So I'm not saying what is going to be behind. Is it going to be software? Is it going to be hardware? Is it going to be AI or blockchain or any other thing in terms of demonstration? I'm not referring to that. We'll also need virtual examinations, which is very important link in the whole chain, which is currently missing. And I must admit that we are very capable innovators. And that is the reason why in last 15, 20 days, I can easily say that I have got 10 to 15 new startups information about the virtual classrooms and another 10 to 15 about the examinations. And we are now in deep sea how to judge them, how soon we can check and implement that. And on top of that, we have our own versions and expectations. And therefore, technology is going to throw us with a lot of challenges, but a lot of solutions. Eventually, it will stabilize. It's a transient period for the technology in the education space. One thing which will emerge out of whole thing will be the universities will become technologically driven or virtual universities. I need not explain much about that. And what real background we'll possibly use to drive them will be AI, big data, and all that, whatever has been said, will be used very nicely to facilitate that. Ultimately, it will lead to what we call education 4.0, which will be a student centric one, as I said earlier, anytime, any mode, anywhere, any degree, any language, all that. If many any's you can add, I think probably you can say that it will be education 4.0. So it's going to be technologically dependent. I'm not given you a view of inside technologies, that how a classroom examination will be conducted with biometrics and with various things, and they can measure the parameters like your sweat and your heart rate and all that, and understand what's happening inside your this thing. So all these things combined, all these sensors combined with AI, big data, and various other things will give you a very foolproof examination, though you may be sitting at home. So these will be the few things technologically happening in future.
So,
Yeah.
in early, we used to say the essential need of human being is roti, kapda, or makan. Then subsequently, might be 10 years back, we started using roti, kapda, makan, or mobile. So, I think now we can at least say that roti, kapda, makan, and cyber physics.
Yeah,
That is
internet
the
is a birthright, fundamental right now. If you don't get in internet access, you know how people cry. They cry foul about it. So yes, it is essential.
So Sushmita is ready with us. So to continue with Sushmita, what kind of emerging technologies will be there in Education 4.0? So it's not audible. I think some technical glitches there. So to
Yeah.
continue with the hello, is it audible, Sushmita?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, please over to Sushmita.
Yes, sir. Can you please repeat the question?
So my query is the main emerging technology in Education 4.0.
Okay, okay. So the emerging technologies is 4.0. Am I audible to everybody?
Yeah, please carry on.
Yes, yes, yes. So emerging technology that are now in the market, or I can say in the online platform, they are basically onto AI. So I would like to explain artificial intelligence on a first point, because that is based on cognitive computing. So that is basically the use of computerized models to simulate the human thought process and neural networks that are a set of algorithms recognizing some patterns. Okay, and basically computer visions, machine learning, and deep learning. So the deep learning basically depends on some natural language processing. Yeah, so that is basically a part of artificial intelligence, which on to comes now to machine learning, that goes to data science, and possibly to the blockchain, to the different areas of I can say new emerging technology and safety, security, and privacy. So definitely this we are using, and big data, that is 16.7 quintillions of data that is being generated. So extremely large data sets are there that may be analyzed computationally to reveal some patterns and trends and association, especially relating to the human behavior and interaction. So as rightly said by Dr. Sandeep and Tanmay, I would like to tell that there are some of the cyber physical systems that are integrations of computation, that and networking also some physical processes. And as Tanmay was talking about structured and unstructured data. So yes, data science has to do multiple about this structured and unstructured data. And I would like to take an example that how this Actually, if you see your brain, okay, there are some of the signals generated. So if you divide your brain into half parts, basically one point of time it is generating one signal and the other part is converting them into digital form. So that is how artificial intelligence and data science are going to work. And as due to this pandemic, 1.725 billion learners are not able to attend school or university as on 27th April. So this is data till 27 April. And they have started with the home schooling. So basically they are working on the Slick platform, that is student learning interactive questions, and some of the really great platforms that have been built by the developers Tanmay and many more others in the industry. So I think, sir, AI, data science, machine learning are going to be the future of India, and people are going to work on this. And basically, the homeschooling that we are doing, this is a origination of this era, because as people are at homes, they are doing many programs, they are learning things into AI, machine learning. So this era belongs completely digital evolution, and these are some of the things that I would like to put up, and it will be a part of the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sushmita. So science will be not merely for brain; it will be a way of living. I think that will be appropriate. So people say that I'm emotionally yours, so they will be addressing digitally yours. So moving further, uh, coming to Professor Sancheti and Tanmay, what are the weak linkages of education with this whole developmental processes? To begin with, Professor Sancheti.
Okay, there are many links which are weak, I would say. In fact, one would be the complacency also within the educational setups. Another would be that we did not grow or change with time. The third possibly could be the lower esteem which somehow the profession landed into. There are various reasons which we can say. So traditionally, we have found that education is a slow moving entity. So we probably needed a catalyst, or you can say jerk, or anything like COVID to once again shake us and shake us well. And it has shook us well, and changes are happening. So the point here is there was not a trigger point, adequate trigger point for us to change. Also, we found amongst our stakeholders, those brilliant students graduating, whenever you are tend to ask them that would you be keen on teaching profession, I think they will just give a very special smile without answering that question. I know that at a later age they have a craving to do that, but that's too late to do a formal part of teaching. So I think these are the common attributes which one can say. But in India, we did not change much because the relation between input and output was such that without doing much of those changes, we were surviving. Our product was sellable, at least for the good institutions, and the ordinary institutions probably didn't have the vision or drive or the money or support to do that. And that is the reason why you can say that the development processes were slow. Fortunately, I must say that technology is a leveler. Okay, I give you two examples, or maybe three can be true now in the current circumstances. We were completely without communications in India till probably 2000. To have a phone was something very big pride for a family to have a phone in a big lane. If you have one, I think everyone will be trying to befriend you. Now, all of a sudden, mobile technology has made that flattened. No one worries about who has a phone, who doesn't. Everyone has. The same thing is now happening with the solar, the energy. Rural people didn't have the energy, or the distribution was very faulty or leaky or whatever. Today, you can generate it wherever you want, whenever you want to store it and do it. So energy is becoming cheap. Mobile has become cheap. I think the third thing, in my opinion, people can disagree, would be transportation. With the energy going cheap and the one-time investment in electrical vehicles or maybe solar panels or whatever it may be, I think once again the transportation will become cheap. So technology has taken it to the roots called rural areas. I think the same thing is going to happen to education, that this technology, I can study entire my engineering through courses from Harvard, Stanford, or MIT, or wherever I want to go. It may so happen that I may not get their degree because I'm doing it online, but I'll still learn the subject. I may still be very good, and therefore this developmental process is going to change the world upside down, and people will probably change, and it will reach the last level, or the grassroots level also, in terms of happening. This is my take on this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. And over to Tanmay.
Sure, thank you. So really what I believe, one of the weakest links in terms of developing the field of technology and evolving it further, or the field of education rather, and evolving it further, is the fact that we as humans are generally, we are resistant to change. Right, we have a fear of changing things and having things different from what they used to be. There's this whole phobia, which unfortunately I'm forgetting the name for at the moment, around the fear of new things or even just young people. I think the word actually literally translates to teenage phobia. You know, the phobia of people who are young. And the problem with this, and the reason for this, actually, the reason for this is because, again, at the end of the day, we as humans are animals. No matter how complex we may think we are, and no matter how complex we may do things, and no matter how well we can reason, at the end of the day, we have a subconscious mind that's filtering the data coming into us before it hits our conscious mind. And a lot of the times, whenever we see things drastically starting to change from what they used to be when we were young or just a couple of years ago, we start to think, hey, that's not a good thing. That can't be a good thing. I learned this way. Other people should be learning this way. And the thing is, in today's economies, in today's nations, in today in the world, all of it is dependent on education. If we are educating people well, and if they are able to, if they're able to contribute to this, again, bubble of human knowledge, that creates value for humanity, that creates value for economies, that creates value for nations, and nothing else really. But even though that's what adds value today, we're still using an education system that was primarily designed many, many decades ago when this wasn't necessarily the case. When even if you weren't very well educated, as long as you could, work in a field like agriculture, you would still be good to go. So I believe that, again, as I sort of mentioned this towards the beginning of today's panel, but COVID 19 isn't really the only reason we're going to a world like this one where we're more open to change, but it's definitely been an accelerator, and we're going to get there a lot faster and with a lot more of a narrow focus than we ever would have without a kick like, in this case, COVID 19. So what I would say is the biggest sort of weak link would be the fact that we are simply not very open to change, and we don't realize just how much future jobs are going to change because of the fourth industrial revolution. And at the same time, we simply don't realize how important education is to today's to the way the world works today. So all three of these combined, even in little parts and individual leaders, sort of combine to create the perfect storm for education. So if we can fix all three of these problems, this sort of openness to change, which COVID-19 is helping us out with, the fourth industrial revolution is coming, and that's going to force leaders to see that, hey, jobs are going to be really different in the future. We need people to be well educated. And at the same time, if we were to sort of work on fixing all of these issues, I think we're going to start to see a better education system that enables people to adapt their knowledge regardless of industry, regardless of field, to again, a more generic way of learning.
Thank you, Tanmay. Well quoted. We need to come out from this fear of change. Change can occur only when we are ready for the change. So now, proceeding further with Professor Sancheti. I mean, you have learned your doctoral degree at UK. So, in a case, I mean, I have come across many students that they had to discontinue their education wherever they were studying, and their credits were not accepted by the university, another university. They have to re-enroll themselves. I mean, freshly enroll. So, in this, it is technologically, it is possible to communicate with all authorities. In what way, I mean, this new education policy can find out some way to help students in this particular aspect?
Okay. Yeah, Punitji, there are many things happening under new education policy. Of course, it is not yet public or officially fully approved, but it's doing rounds. A lot of excitement around that, and hopefully it will come up soon, especially during these COVID times, because people are understanding the importance of that. Under new education policy, the framework will be much more liberal and much more open. That is what one expects. Under that, there are schemes like equip and all that, which is taking about the education, talking about educational quality improvement and so on and so forth. And under that, one important thing which is going to come up is what we call as a National Academic Credit Bank. To address the point which you are mentioning about that one studies in one institution and they are unable to, when they move to another one, they are unable to carry on the credits and so on and so forth, particularly in India. I think this is a framework for that. I would like to share it through just one slide. Once again, the organizers will have to give me the permission.
It's not audible. Admin, please look into the matter.
Are you able to see the slide, please?
Yeah, could you please re-explain? Due to some technical glitch, we couldn't hear you. Could you please re-explain?
Okay. Yeah. What I'm trying to explain here, it will be a little difficult without this slide, but anyway, I'll try to explain you. This is a proposal from UGC on which the committees are working. And in this particular work, we are giving a lot of importance to the student centricity. Number one can choose courses of whatever nature they want, and those courses will be cutting across medical, engineering, any other domain. And therefore, if you do not particularly follow a domain called commerce or science or engineering fully, you may still get a degree called Bachelor of Liberal Education. And therefore, it will break the notion of what we call branches, etc. And do an engineering which is a interdisciplinary engineering very, very easily. So it will break those notions which are there. The second thing will be it can be becoming faster and slower also. An engineering degree can be taken up in 3 years or 4 years or 5 years also. Currently, 3 years are not possible, 4 years are common. Like that, we'll have that framework. Another one would be a framework is to study in national and international institutions. I can do some study in my SRM. I can do some study in IIT. I can do some study in an international institution and bring all that together for me and make sure that my credits are transferred and I get a degree. So once again, the notion of campus will be broken or the location or physical thing will be broken. Similarly, I can make the subjects combine anyone, so notion of specialization will be broken. Similarly, merging of regular, distance, online, virtual, contact, skill, whatever such things, industrial, project-based learning, all that can be combined together. And once again, you can say the notion of mode-based education will also be broken. So if you see, we can convert credits into degrees and diplomas, not in 1 year, not in 2 years. We can possibly do it in 10 years also. Suppose I have started working in an industry after 25 years of my age, and I do one odd course at 27, another odd course at 30, and then possibly I do one or two more, and at 35 I realize that I can get a master's degree, and therefore I'll do few more, and in next 10 years my master's degree is done because my credits are accumulated. So this work is a work in progress. A very high-powered committee has been constituted by UGC, and this is the one which is going to puncture the boundaries of the institution. If an odd institution is not doing well after first year or after a few courses, a student can move out of that institution and study somewhere else. That is the concept behind this. It also means that suppose I studied for engineering first year of engineering course, for some reason I didn't like engineering, and natural migration, many people, what we've seen, will do to BBA or Bachelor of Business Administration. And once again, the student is not happy and he finds that his interest was economics or arts, and he goes in third year to that. Most of his credits in first 2 years are lost. Whereas in this new scheme, nothing would be lost, or most of it would be saved. Not everything will be saved, most of it will be saved. And therefore, once again, you'll find that this will be a savior for the people who want to change gears, change directions, whatever. Just to give you a last example of said NCB, and I'll want that you please share with the audience this slide, though it's not visible right now on the screen. I'm not seeing it on my screen. You please share it with the audience so that they understand. In a very crude sense, if I try to explain you, that the current set of courses are something like that. At the first year, at entry point of first year, I enter into a pipe called, let's say, BCom program. And at the end of 3 years, I come out of the pipe and I get a degree. And if I don't come out, I don't get a degree and I don't come out. So it's a fixed pipe where I enter, and after 3 years, either it is one or two in terms of outcome. Whereas in the current system of NCB, this will be a leaky pipe. It will be a pipe which is also leaky, so you can enter into from any, you can make an exit into pipe from anywhere, and that you can say that this will be a brand new model, and therefore this will be more student centric, and this is the concept. Hopefully, it will come up very very soon, and people will take advantage of that. That is what we expect. And I'm one of them who's involved in framing it and promoting it. If you have any ideas, do share it with us, your comments and suggestions also. That's NACB from my side.
Thank you, Professor Sancheti. I think that model should be available in Indian education system as well, because many people they wish to take a U-turn, or during the process of evolving self, they realize this is not exactly what I'm looking forward to learn. Some my interest lies somewhere else, right? So they will be able to have themselves properly, to groom themselves and subsequently to serve society in a better fashion. So before opening the house for questions from audiences or viewers, one last question from Sushmita. So you are into hiring talent, young talents, those who are into technological platforms. So what is your future focus for future jobs? Sushmita, can you? It's not audible.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It was muted. Yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah, it's please. Continue.
Yes. So, I would like to share the PPT. Can I be allowed to do it? I'm relating it to the future innovation. So basically, 200% there is a rise into data sciences, into machine learning, into artificial intelligence. So there will be multiple jobs available to the person who is highly skilled into these particular languages, or I can say these domains. So the person need to be understanding these particular I can say artificial intelligence, machine learning. They have to be a master to these particular organization. As I'm working also in Talent Edge, sir, I would like to quote an example. Like in Talent Edge, we are also giving multiple programs to the people. Okay, they are like 20 plus years of experience people are having, but they are like learning data science as of now because this is new to them. This they have not been able to understand this data science before, so they are really interested for those programs. So this was one part. Now second part, I would like to quote an example from VIT as well, as we were there. Okay, we used to have some really good sessions from IIT Madras or the people from IITs, so that we could also innovate ourselves and have some great ideas for innovation. So definitely, if we have skill set, I hope that job is definitely I can say it is not a difficult task. If you are skilled much, you definitely you are going to get a job for yourself. You are going to be secure definitely in each and every purpose. So yes, there is future jobs, as I've also like shared some of the relevant facts previously. So there are like 169.4 million jobs which will be available by the coming 2028. So that is like my agenda or my way of explaining things for the future prospects. And definitely it is a socialite culture as of now. So definitely we are going to enjoy this, and after this pandemic is over, I am definitely sure that people are going to be out of their houses. They are going to meet, and definitely we are going to have some really good sessions, like one to one, face to face. Definitely this online things will also go beyond, and there is much scope for these AI plus machine learning, data science, and the things which I have already explained before. So the situation which I want to put in is a really good future. Along with these multiple things put into, we will have a really great future. And as I've explained with the help of that particular image, so that's my point, that whatever you think, you can put across the table for yourself.
So this is for sure that life will be more technology driven, and gadgets, products which are AI, artificial intelligence driven. But I'm sure
Absolutely.
overpower intelligence. Natural intelligence will always supersede. We are first human being, then anything else.
Yes.
So, before extending my thanks to all, I would request to the all people, those who are right now available on the board as a viewer, they can raise their queries. Admin, could you please help us in getting connected to the audiences?
Absolutely, sir.
Please, your name and then question. Till the time there is any query, can I request admin to please, share this last slide which Professor was addressing about. It was really important.
Sir, actually, we haven't received that slide. That's why we are not able to
So if you can allow Professor Sancheti to
share that
display the
slide.
slide,
Ji, sir.
that is really important.
Ji, sir. I'm giving
Like
one
me,
second.
those who ended up in engineering, they
Slide to
wanted
the
to
Sancheti sir.
pursue fine arts. I mean, it is possible to pursue even now. I would like to.
Can give the permission